Oh, good. The agenda has been presented to you ahead of time, and you've got copies there. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to the agenda?
I have an addition.
Yes, sir.
Would you add pedestrians on Artist's Point
Where?
at the very bottom?
What is it on Artist Point?
Pedestrians on Artist's Point. under
That would be new
business.
business.
New business.
Okay. Anything else people want to add or
Pedestrian roulette.
fix? If not, I ask you,
Move
yes, sir.
approval.
Well, I was going to just ask unanimous consent.
Oh, yeah,
If nobody objects, then we've adopted the agenda.
as amended.
And then there are the minutes from July 5th, a month ago. And is there anybody who has any heartburn about anything that's in the minutes?
Move approval.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. They're approved.
Go where there's a light.
Next on the list is the golf report. Paul?
Hey. Well,
Craig, you didn't have any changes to the agenda or the minutes, did you? Okay, we're still unanimous.
yeah, you'll have to excuse my voice. I got some really bad allergy issues.
Move right next to the microphone if you would. Or
Yeah.
pull the microphone towards you.
Okay. So, yeah, I guess everything's going pretty well. I mean, the time's flying by. We're already into August. It's, as far as our revenues and stuff, we had a good month. Last month was a good month, better than our average, better than last year's, which was a really good year.
Better than last year,
Yeah.
even, which was a good year.
Yeah. And so, yeah, all that is good. It's kind of better than I expected, actually. So we're happy about that. We're seeing a lot of guest players come through, which we're happy about. It's been busy, been pretty good play. So that's it. We've got the Fisherman's Weekend. We've got a couple things going on. The Greshicks have their kind of a family annual thing. They just grab a bunch of tea times and they all play. So it's kind of like a private event in a way.
What's the last name of the family? Or who is it?
Greshik, Pete, you know Pete? Pete Greshik?
Are they the ones that own North Shore Waste? Or no?
G&G Septic.
Yeah, G&G Septic.
G&G Septic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know that we have our septic system in place.
Yes. Yes. Solid. But anyway, it's yeah. So they're there, and then the Spry family has a small thing in the morning. But yeah, it's just, it's just been busy. Let's see, our carts. Those are supposed to go into production next week. When we first had ordered those, we were expecting those in the beginning of July. But for whatever reasons, their production is behind. So I talked to the rep recently, and those are supposed to be in production on the 8th, and we might be seeing those somewhere around the 20th. So that's what I know about the carts. We've been getting by. Our situation with carts right now is tough just because we have electric carts. We use them a few times and we have to put them away, so it's like all of a sudden it's in the middle of the day, we have a lot of play going on and we don't have enough carts, So the new carts will be very helpful. Social media, we had a person come out and kind of get us set up with that. They came out and did some drone shots. It turned out really good. And some shots around the course turned out really good. So we're working with Patrick now to get our addresses in line, and then I guess we just start loading data into these programs and see where they go. And then also, Dave, I had sent her a thing that we want to do the website too, and that you've got the information and want to be involved in that. So that's all good stuff. The other thing, as far as social media and that sort of thing, we're talking about the NGA membership. Yeah, it's $90. So that's a that's something we should do. I don't, it's kind of a no-brainer. It's been beneficial to us in that we can have it set up for doing handicaps for the members, or anybody that comes through from any club can take their scores from our place and then enter them into the MGA, and they kind of have this universal handicap thing going that you can use at any course. It's a good program, so we'll do it. And as Steve pointed out, we could, it puts us on their roster. We're on another roster of golf courses, so that's always good.
The only other charge, it will need to buy some kind of a computer, probably a laptop or some kind of computer so people can enter their scores to keep their handicaps current.
Yeah, we have to have a conversation with the with a person from the MGA to find out the details. But yeah, I wasn't sure if people do that on their cell phones these days or how they entered the information. But yeah, generally you walk into a golf course and they have something there that you can look at your handicap and enter your score and that sort of thing. So yeah, we'll have to look at that.
And that makes our players more able to play other courses with a handicap that will be adjusted by that's adjusted by the national thing. And so they can have games using a real handicap instead of figuring one out when they get
there. I think that, our course is tough. It's a tough course, so I think that if people wanted to get their handicap up, they could probably come up to Gunflint Hills and get a higher handicap before they,
I call it Woodhill North.
Yeah, so I guess that's about all I have.
And there's one other thing, and that is that once we belong to the MGA, then our members can belong to the MGA. They pay a separate, relatively small fee to belong to the MGA, and they have their handicap that's part of the USGA system.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have that right? I think I do.
Yeah, I don't know the details of that. That's part of the conversation with
I already joined the MGA in anticipation.
How much did it cost you?
It was $50 or less for the year, and you get a golf journal, as part of it. Well, does anybody have any objection to the golf course spending $90 on membership in the MGA for the foreseeable future and for buying a computer that's appropriate to the maintenance of those handicaps?
So moved.
What, moved?
You're
Is there a
spending
second?
something. Should be a motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Same sign if opposed. There being none, it's approved. I wanted to mention one other thing that Paul and I have been chatting about, which is there are a couple of really large downed trees, one of which was so rotten all that's left is a stump about 2.5 feet high, might make a chair. And then there's another one, maybe two, and I'm hoping that we can get somebody up here to give us an estimate of the cost of turning those tree stumps into some kind of sculpture that would then be memorable, and the sort of thing people would say, oh yeah, that course I remember at Red Marais, it's got that statue of a bear or a moose or whatever.
Put your bust on there.
Pardon?
You can put your bust on there.
Yeah. At any rate, I'm hoping you can get an estimate for doing something with those tree stumps, especially the tall one that's still there, and see if there's any problem with it.
Okay.
Okay. Anybody else have any input on the golf issues? It's too late to join the senior league for this season, but for next year, there'll be time. Yeah, I know, you got to get your shoulder fixed.
I have scheduled my shoulder repair
For when?
sometime in the end of August.
Well, that's good. You'll have the whole
It'll be
fall then
fine
to
next
recover.
year. It'll be good next year.
All right. And Matt, you're going to take it the game too, I understand. Or you have already?
Someday.
Yeah.
I guess I'll have to issue a specific invitation, won't I? Anything else? All right, next item on the agenda is the city council report. Craig?
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, for the city council report, I guess, go back the last 2 meetings. I guess the main thing that might be of interest to the
Can you talk more to the mic for us deaf guys?
city council report, the main thing on July 13th, and then following up with July 27th. On July 13th, the North House did present to the city of Grand Marais a request to purchase the property that they currently occupy and lease from the city. And so we listened to that request, and then on July 27th, we had another city council meeting where we voted to not sell the property to the North House at this time. It was a unanimous decision among all of the city council members. So as we sit right now, we are, there will be a discussion, most likely the end of August, our last meeting, where we will answer and discuss some type of an agenda with the North House. We haven't recreated it yet, but I think we're setting our goals to have something to discuss at that meeting instead of doing it the first week in August because everybody's so busy right now. So that is pertaining to the land that the North House currently leases from the city, that also adjacent to the rec park area. I don't think there was anything else maybe pertaining to the city as a whole. There's some talk about the wastewater plant, from the odor that we get off the wastewater plant that was coming out earlier in July. We do have a firm coming up they're going to do some testing of some of the stuff that's coming into the wastewater plant just to see what we have coming in there, and maybe we can isolate an issue of why our system goes into an anaerobic state when we don't have enough oxygen within the system. This is when we get the smell and the odor. So we're looking into what's causing that, what's creating that, and I think sometimes certain systems just go into that and do that, but we are trying to figure out why that's happening. Recently, it's been pretty good the last, well, since 4th of July, I guess. We had a problem during that weekend, but right now it seems to be functioning pretty good. The system is working. Just so people know that the system was designed for a city of 3,500 people, assuming, I think Tom said, if one person uses 100 gallons of water a day, that's kind of how it was designed. So even though we have a lot of people in our community this time of year, with the rec park and all the summer homes being full, we still have a wastewater treatment facility that can handle the load that is going through it right now. So that is not a problem, that we don't have a big enough system. We do have a big enough system. It's just we're trying to figure out why we get into this smelly stage sometimes, and it's just something we got to work out and figure it out. Other than that, there were some other items that were during closed session we met about, I don't know, let's see, go back to the 13th. We approved some variances on some GES is going to add on to their school, and so we approved a variance so that they can get that work done. And I see they poured the slab today, so they're starting to do some new construction, adding on to the school, at the GES school. That is pretty much everything I have as far as city council report that pertains mostly to the rec park and users of the rec park.
Anybody else have questions? I have one, and that is, what were the reasons the city decided not to sell the property?
I think there's many reasons, and I think we'll be going into them publicly at a meeting, but some of the reasons I think would be in the emails and the letters that we received as a city, administrator received, the city council received, individuals received, I think a lot of it has to do with, it's city-owned property, it's a valuable piece of property to the city. I think a lot of the reasons were just, do we need to sell it? I mean, is this something that the city wants to do? And, I think once you sell a property like that, it's final, I'm not a predictor of the future like nobody else is, but what if, what if someday we wish we hadn't done that? And, it's not affecting the functionality of the North House or anything like that, whether we sell it or not sell it. I mean, of course, selling it would change the scope of anything that anybody wants to do down there. It's just that not selling it doesn't.
If North House buys it because they're a nonprofit, it would still be tax exempt?
It's currently tax exempt right now.
Well, I know that because the
And it would
city
still be
owns it,
tax
but-
exempt, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it would still be tax exempt.
Okay, I would point out, bringing out my old law training, that if you wanted to sell it to them with requirements attached to the deed, it could be done. That is, it always has to be a North House. And anything other than that would require city approval, if you wanted to go that route. I'm not saying you should, I'm just saying that is an option. Anybody else have any other thoughts about the city? When do we do our budget?
That season's just starting. The preliminary budgets are being formed in August. Final approval of the budget's not till later on in November.
Okay. Anybody else have anything about the city? Parks report, we had a nice 2/3 of a page, single-spaced. You want to highlight that for us? I didn't know that the park board owned either the Grand Marais sign or the Bear in a Boat sign.
Well, and that's a good point, Steve. So yeah, we're certainly busy in the park. We've got everything up in, peak season, we call it right now. The busiest week is this week, obviously with the Fisherman's Picnic. And so we're, attending to the needs of the guests. But we got a direction from City Council, actually has been talking about these two signs, the Grand Marais sign down on the Java Moose Island, the big wooden sign, probably early 80s. And, it's got the artistic touches to it, but it's quite rotted out because it's wood and it's been outside for the last 30 or 40 years. You look up close to it. We painted it maybe 10 years ago or so. Park staff painted it because we have that ability. It's not, I think the city owns that island, or it's in the right of way, so we just care for it. So, but it needs another quick fix. Paint job is kind of what we're looking at right now. It's just a practical, quick, freshen it up, make it look good for another year or two. But ultimately, that sign needs to be replaced. It's out of date as well with the boat launch language. Underneath the Grand Marais, there's some town center, Artist Point boat launch with an arrow sending people, right down Wisconsin. And even though it's not that obvious, I don't think many people are turning right with boats because of it. It's going to become out of date here pretty quick when the Parkside launch opens. And so that's another good reason to look for a replacement. We're thinking the CEC, the Creative Economy Collaborative, this local group of kind of a committee of the council that is consulting arts and crafty projects, could be the one to do the design process and the replacement sign. We feel, Matthew and I are both on that committee, and we could put them to work on what the new sign will look like and who would do it. But that could be, a year or two out.
Wasn't there a statue there?
Well, yeah, so
Yeah.
Pierre the Voyager.
Pierre the Voyager.
I think it's getting repaired, but I'm not.
Yeah, he's been taken indoors. He's up at the Grand Portage National Monument.
Oh, okay.
Because it's again an old wooden sculpture that's
Yep.
deteriorated in the weather, and so years ago he was stained and refreshed, but now he's indoors and will likely remain there.
Okay,
So
Oh.
there's a stone pillar that he sat on.
right.
And what to do with that is also on the brainstorming list. But yeah, this is all on that little island by Java Moose that we look after. The park department mows and waters the plants, and we'll be giving that sign a quick paint job. The other piece of this is the bear and the boat at the library on either side of the gateway arches. You know, a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 now, Yarrow Korf, a local artist, refreshed those signs. There's the Voyager canoe on the right and the bear and the boat on the left. And they're metal, and for whatever reason, we think it's maybe the cedar oil from the cedar tree that sits above the bear.
Wow.
It's like deteriorated the finish on the bear in the boat. You look at it, it's very flaky and, you know, chipping and peeling, and the Voyager still looks good. But I'm looking into the feasibility of, you know, taking that thing down again. It'll come off of the stone wall and should go maybe back to Yarrow, or a airbrush sort of automotive body shop is what I have in mind, to really give it a baked enamel finish that'll last forever. I've got a few feelers out in the auto body shop world of, you know, airbrush artists that could.
I don't know where the bear and the boat is or was.
You
The
know,
old-
it's like at the library
The original
street,
entrance,
3rd or whatever, or 4th. I don't know my streets, but
it's the original entrance to the Gunflint Trail.
it's like across from Dairy
The original
Queen.
entrance to the Gunflint Trail, which is across from the Dairy Queen.
Okay, that's not the big sign with the canoe, this is a
Yes.
different.
Yeah, it is. There's
Oh.
there's one on each side.
Okay, the reason I ask is because we don't really want people to go up that road to get to the Gunflint Trail, do we? Might we want to put it at some other intersection?
Well, yeah, traditionally we just left it there. I mean, that was the original entrance to the Gunflint Trail. It's part of the park, I guess, part of the historical.
The history.
It's a history.
charm.
It's kind of a history marker there, I guess. But I think also when in reviewing, getting that painted, maybe looking at tree trimming in there possibly.
Definitely.
Maybe if we have to replant something that's not gonna affect the paint on the signs.
Yeah, it's a big old cedar,
Yeah,
and so maybe just we can trim it to not be
Over
on the sign like
Right.
it is now. But that's kind of I've said mid-burner project because it's really busy right now, and
yeah,
that will not get done in the next couple weeks.
no.
But
it's-
hopefully the paint job on the Grand Marais sign will.
What about
Yeah.
signage, pardon me if I don't know what's there, but at the entrance to the campground?
Yeah, we took down our highway
Is there
sign last
nothing
spring.
there?
There's nothing,
There's nothing there right now.
and we
It
like
has to
it
be
So-
that way.
relocated.
There's a little
Could
blue.
we all speak one at a time for the deaf folks?
Yeah, no, we're talking about the rec park corner, and you know, we took down our big sign
Right.
to.
I was going to
last
ask about
spring or
that.
2
What's the
springs ago.
status of its replacement?
There is none. We like being low key and like hard to find is the
But-
joke, but actually everyone's still finding us is not a joke. Like there's a little blue MnDOT camping sign, you know, like a couple
Right.
100 feet before the corner is something MnDOT put back up, and you know,
But with the boat launch,
Yeah.
when that opens.
Right.
Yeah.
That, we don't want people to start driving through town and when
No.
they could have
We'll have
turned.
to have both, yeah.
yeah, I think it would be good to have a new sign advertising the park. I know you mentioned the library and the golf course and everything on that sign.
And the liquor store.
Yeah, and so we could go down that road, you know, do some design this off-season.
It would be nice to see what it would cost to do the extras. It might not be that big a deal.
Yeah, and maybe it's you know, maybe they match, maybe the one at Java Moose and ours is like the same artist, the same company, there's maybe some economy there.
Does with the boat launch being relocated there by the DNR, do they help in any way with the sign?
I could look into that, Craig, it's a good point. They
You
have
know.
those kind of classic
Yeah.
routed wooden signs, we can look into it. What's what they've got down here, which is
Right.
routed out.
Okay.
So the sign could also mention the boat launch turnpike.
Absolutely
Right.
mention that, yeah.
Sounds
Yeah,
like
so
a
we
good
got some
idea.
sign work going
Yeah.
on.
Because
Okay.
Something to-
that blue sign is before the turn, right?
The blue one is, yeah.
And you're
Well,
driving,
it's
but
like
the other sign
500
is the
feet.
one that's on the,
It was on the corner.
Yeah.
It used to
corner.
be, yeah, they
used to
want,
be on the corner, right?
Yeah.
we can't put it there anymore, I guess.
It's just gotta be out of the right of way.
Something to do over the winter, perhaps? Other thoughts about these, oh, you have more in your report?
Well, just maybe a good segue to the boat launch, update on the boat launch. I met with some officials last week. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has been a major funder of the project because of boater access dollars that flow through them. You know, when you buy fishing license and all that, it's through U.S. Fish and Wildlife. So some of their St. Paul people were up looking at their work. They were touring the shore on, multiple projects, but they stopped by our Parkside project and we showed them the breakwater and the almost done parking lot, and everybody was pleased with what they saw, and we went out on the rocks and it was very pretty day in Grand Marais, and so good news from the St. Paul folks, they liked the project. We talked about a grand opening or ribbon cutting ceremony, that'll be in September after Labor Day. But the actual taking down the fence and opening it to the public is very likely in the next 2 weeks or so.
Wow.
Tentatively, they'll be paving the week of the 8th. KGM, is the contractor on site, and they're down to that really last grading right now is going on, final grading. The stormwater like the biofilter ponds have been filled in and seeded, and now it's just a matter of paving. And because the pavement's coming up from Duluth and it's got to stay hot or like not be in the trucks for too long, they're not going to try it this week because of the congestion expected throughout Two Harbors and the shore. And so hopefully there's a little less traffic next week, but anticipate that they'll be paving the parking lot starting Monday the 8th, and then striping, painting, curbing, stripe work for the truck trailer parking that hopefully later on that week. And so potentially as early as the 15th or so.
You wondered about the feasibility of doing those two small sections of road.
Oh, yeah, separate pavement
and
job.
You mentioned
Yeah.
August, when it was busy.
Yeah.
Is the reason why you might want to do it in August, because you'd be using the same paving people that are doing the rest of the project?
That's
Probably
right,
have their
Steve.
Stuff there.
Yeah, so the two groups I've reached out to for firm pricing on some overlay work in the park on some park roads that are needy are KGM and KTM,
Yeah.
right? Two separate paving companies. I expect prices very soon, and they're probably in the $50,000 to $75,000 range, which is well within our budget. We have a very robust capital improvement budget, and needy pavement is a priority for capital spends. I'm hopeful we can get some good prices because these two companies are in the county right now doing pavement. But the real trick would be access to the sites during a busy time of August. One of the sections is on the east side in the seasonal neighborhood, where the summer people stay, and it's above the office in a kind of a not as busy road, let's say. And we feel like that we could feasibly have shut down, and it will take a day to do the overlay, and those seasonal folks could just park nearby, but all their trailers are already in the sites, so there's not a lot of traffic on that road. The western road, though, is that bumpy one that goes down to the tent sites that we looked at in the spring, is heaving, and that's a much different piece of access for daily overnight campers. We'll see, but I am reluctant to shut that down for a day if we got 20 arrivals into those sites.
And would it take more work because it's so bumpy? Would they have to smooth those bumps out ahead of time?
Apparently
Or
not. I put that in the request for prices, that here's a section, it's very bumpy and about a 200-foot stretch, come on down and look at it if you need to, ask me questions if you like, is it feasible to overlay it? Was put out in the request for pricing, and we'll see. Nobody's coming in and asked or
Is
expressed
it
any
possible to just drive around the 200 feet on whatever is next to it?
No, because it's
Is it-
campsites.
Might it be smart to just do the one during the season and do the other one as a separate task at some point?
I think so, Steve.
Okay. Any other thoughts about that issue before we go on to the next paragraph?
just out of curiosity, are the docks in at the
No,
boat
this
ramp?
is a fun one. They asked hey, where are those two little roll-ins that used to be here? Because we ordered new ones and they're not ready yet. So can we use the old ones.
They're over in the,
They're in the
No.
marina
We're
with
using 'em.
seasonal boats parked on them.
yeah.
And
Did they
so
decide what length to put in?
Just the 30-foot roll-ins.
30s, okay.
Yeah, so they got new 30-foot roll-ins on order. They'll be here next spring.
Oh, no.
So we're gonna
But
use
no,
these.
luckily we talked about this early enough that they'll be able to come up with a couple of spares to just
Right.
put out this fall.
For now, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
or one for sure. And I
And there's
said,
gonna
New
be-
boat ramp with no dock.
They do plan on having two of them
Yeah.
each side.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, double bunk.
Yep.
And
And
I've
then
been
a-
over there. It looks very good, very big. There is some, like, let's test it with a trailer truck combo before they pave it. Because apparently there's been a couple of folks locally that are skeptical of this
Yeah, I know.
something that'll work. And they've been down there
Trying
making
it
that
out.
known.
Well, they've been looking and kind of going, okay,
Yeah.
if we put it, yeah,
What
So
are they
we're-
thinking? Too high, too low, or what?
No,
what-
just with the curbs.
too
like,
close,
You gotta
Too
thread the
close. How big a
needle.
boat? Yeah.
You gotta
Oh.
drive straight.
fitting it in.
Yeah.
Gotta know
Yeah,
how to
you
do
gotta know how
it.
to back up.
It's a little deceiving. From one angle, it looks like there's not enough room to launch like a 30-foot boat, but then when you go look at it at another angle, yeah, there is. So it's all about, you know, where you are, how you're looking at it,
Yeah.
and actually the functionality of actually putting a boat in the water on a trailer. Yeah,
Yeah. So we're gonna do a dry run
yeah, well,
before they pave, though, just for diligence.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, what size boat are you gonna use?
I was gonna use our 20-foot pontoon boat trailer, but
Okay.
you got a 28 you wanna practice on?
It's almost ready.
Come on down.
Okay. Maybe,
So,
maybe tomorrow.
yeah.
We'll see.
Wednesday morning.
So, yeah,
We
Parkside
should go
Project, I
watch.
think there's a lot of excitement around this, because the fence is gonna come down in 2 weeks, is basically what I'm telling you and the public right now, is it'll be
Yep.
open by the 3rd week of August. There's a separate subcontractor coming in to do the tree work. They're planting about a dozen new trees, and that'll be added on after the fence is down.
Okay.
And then people will be able to use the steps again going up to the,
Yeah, and those will be rebuilt. They're
Eventually.
aging. There's some finishing touches there where there'll be like screening station for a changing station. The local kayak group wanted like a not a roofed changing station, but just a board and batten, like screened in changing station. We're gonna add the slab is there, as well as a slab for a porta potty, and we're gonna treat it the same way with like a screening, wooden screen on it. And
But
that'll
do
be
people need a
construct-
changing station for their,
for sea kayaking and
say again?
for the wetsuits of sea kayakers.
Oh. Okay.
Yep. And the ADA non-motorized ramp dock will also be next spring. And here's a call from the tall ship Santa Maria,
oh,
Wow.
but I'll let it ring. But there'll be a
Would they want a
90-foot.
dock?
are they coming in?
They're coming in,
Really?
yeah. 90-foot, 10
Wow.
feet deep. I said park out by the lighthouse.
Oh.
They're on their way down to Two Harbors, and they want to get off the lake for the storms.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
getting pretty,
Cool.
it's getting pretty.
So they said they'd be here around 6 o'clock.
Very early. So is there garbage collect? Are you gonna have garbage dumpsters in there or whatnot, or what are you having for garbage down there? Garbage
Just
cans?
this, what we've always done, I think, with the porta potty, there's always a garbage can,
City can.
City can.
Yeah.
like a green can, yeah.
But no fish cleaning.
No fish cleaning, that's, remains in the marina.
Yeah.
Anything else on the boat launch?
Probably gonna need more signage too with that, to tell the boaters how to get to the fish cleaning station.
Yeah,
Well, they'll just come and
I
ask
think they
you.
just figure it out, but we'll see.
There's a
Not
lot
a
of
fan
chatter
of
amongst
signs.
fishermen. So how many, I mean, that parking lot looks like it's huge. You can handle, I mean, there's,
Really only 30 pull-through truck trailer stalls.
but I mean, that's, yeah, I mean, because I remember seeing, like 15 down there before. So, I mean, that's 30 is nice.
Yeah, we did a few truck counts on a busy Saturday and 3 years ago when we were
Yeah.
designing, we saw about 25 as the,
Max.
maximum, and so it's, the original parking lot was bigger, when, to the west more where the shops were, and it was for 50. But because of funding, We've scaled it back to 30.
What's gonna happen to the boat ramp that's by the Coast Guard? What's gonna happen to the boat ramp that's by the Coast Guard place?
Good question. It'll, the ramp and dock will remain. The parking lot is striped truck trailer now.
And that's owned by us, right?
It's owned by the city.
Yeah.
And it'll be our opportunity to master plan and vision of new configurations. We don't have to stripe it truck trailer for one. I think we could restripe it and park cars more efficiently. But there's a lot of what ifs with the Coast Guard property in a bit of a limbo right now. And if and when the city takes control of the Coast Guard property, it would be the time for a master plan of that whole point.
Maybe that should become a bed and breakfast, like the one in Two Harbors.
Maybe. But you're right, the Coast Guard parking lot is getting bumpy and lumpy and washed out, and the pavement is gonna be needing, and the seawall is in a bit of a sad state at times, and so that whole property needs master planning and funding and redevelopment.
Does the city own that building too?
Not the Coast Guard yet.
The Coast Guard does, but they
The
could give it to us if they
Federal
wanted to.
Department of Interior. Apparently that's how the lease or the deeds read, like city gets it when the federals are done with it. So a couple of other, here's another good segue, because there's a new, the little canoe sculpture is back down there on the edge of that parking lot in what we call Boulder Park. Right down here is the Wayne Potratz, a pretty famous sculptor, donated this little canoe and a rucksack about 5 years ago to the city. He wanted it placed down in Boulder Park right on the edge of the civilization in the wilderness. It's kind of the name of the piece. It's like camping on the edge of nature or something is the name of it. Well, unfortunately, 2 years ago, people were parking into that zone during, I think it was Rendezvous weekend. It wasn't picnic weekend, but it was the next one, and they hit and run, knocked that thing off of its blocks, put a few dings on it. It's a very sturdy sculpture. So Tom Christensen and Greg Mueller down in Last Chance and Lutzen have repaired it, and last week Tom and I remounted it on the slab. So that's back on display. And there's boulders now on that edge of the parking lot to protect people, or you can't park
good
into there
thinking.
anymore.
We have enough sculptures that we might want to advertise ourselves as the city of sculptures.
Well, that's kind of what the CEC is about, Steve. This creative group has that in public art. Like, we feel the same. Like, there's a tour of art in town if we put it all together. And there were more planned for like the highway corridor as well.
Kansas City advertises itself as having more fountains than Rome. Maybe we should advertise as having more sculptures than Duluth.
I don't know about that. If you've been to Canal Park, they got some nice ones. But yeah, it's nice to have that piece back in Boulder. And then the last bit of business is the revenue. It's solid, it's stable, it's up slightly for July. We're going into the last 4 days like lagging. We thought, oh my gosh, we got to make 40,000 in 4 days, and we did. We made 47,000 because we finished 7,000 up
Wow,
for
excellent.
July. Strong finish. A lot of folks checking in on like the 31st through the 7th or 8th because of those wraparound dates for booking. Few folks dropping dates, just as an example of like maybe gaming the system a little, where certain folks that booked the 31st just so they could book in for the picnic have recently called us back and said, guess what, I'm not coming till Thursday. Well, we've been like, don't do that again. Putting a little note in their file and
Red flag.
yeah. But no, we're looking very strong, healthy as far as revenue, despite the weather and the price of fuel and the uncertainties. We're at a pretty flat year to date, right at where we were last year, maybe plus 1.5 points.
Is
And
that
which is
$13,000 over last year roughly accounted for by the small price increases that we did?
entirely, yeah. Because we did a 3% rate hike, that is where we get that extra, because occupancy has been down. If we were up or stable on occupancy, we'd see at least a 3% boost in revenue.
Anything else that you want to tell us?
That's it.
Anything else that the members have to ask Dave about the park, or anybody else? Okay. we
Tall
complete
ship
the-
at 6 o'clock.
Pardon?
6
Arrival?
o'clock for the tall ship.
Where do they come from?
What did we say?
Sault Ste.
There's a
Marie,
tall
but
ship
they're a
coming in.
Spanish
here?
flag.
Here, yep, that's gonna be going down, they're gonna park here for the night and then go down to Two Harbors for the
When are they
festival.
coming here?
6 o'clock.
Tonight?
Yeah,
Oh, well, we're gonna adjourn by then for sure.
Put your
yeah.
rain jacket on.
Okay, well, we've done the parks report. Is there any old business? There being no old business, the new business, Bob has a suggestion about pedestrians on Artist Point.
Yeah, the State Health Improvement Program / Safe Routes to School / Active Living Steering Committee met this morning at great length. And then the Minnesota Bike Coalition bikers came up again for a second visit, and we rode all over the city, following the new DOT bike trail out to around Great Expectations, and then back through town, and the routes that people would follow, and talked about new sidewalks. And one of the questions that came up would be, what about sidewalks to the rec park? And I said, it's gonna be repaved, but I don't think there's any room. Dave, is there no room?
Sidewalk to the rec park.
Yeah, where are you talking?
Coming down 8th.
There is a sidewalk.
Not
Is
on
there?
8th.
It
Yeah, it's
stops,
on the right-hand
stops
side.
right at the bottom.
Oh,
Doesn't
oh.
go out further.
You mean it doesn't cross 61 into the rec park?
There isn't a sort of bike-friendly path down and into the rec park.
From 61?
Yeah.
Right.
And I said, I
No, I
don't
don't
think
think-
there's any room to.
There's a
expand.
sidewalk on the right side.
On the west side, yeah.
On the, yeah, on
But you
the
don't ride
west,
your bike on a sidewalk.
on the west
Yeah,
side.
But you can do that, yeah. Anyway, that issue was raised, bike access to the rec park.
Well, it's the bike trail's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
There's two ways to get in there, actually.
yeah.
You're saying in like past like the rec park, down
Yeah,
into the
so
park.
down and then into the
into
park
the-
and around. And
Come
the
on
route
down.
that I follow every day when I go to the post office. I didn't think it was a problem, I'm just saying,
Either.
I'm saying we discussed it, and I said, I don't think so, but things are fine.
Good,
Okay,
because I feel the same.
okay. And that led to the boat launch being redone and bringing more demand down there. And that led to what's gonna happen to Artist Point, and that led to what I call pedestrian roulette on Artist Point, which is everybody driving and walking on the same asphalt. So are there plans for a sidewalk or bike path on Artist Point? Is there a plan for Artist Point?
Couple things I can just say, Artist Point is federal, Forest Service owned. When you think of like behind the Coast Guard building,
This is
that's,
down too.
so then we're talking this side of the Coast Guard building, the city parking lot is what we just talked about,
Yeah.
needing to be reimagined and
Yeah.
master planned. And yeah,
It's
for
been
many
talked
years,
about.
we've heard, and we see it, there's no sidewalks between
Right.
Cobblestone Cove.
It ends at the shoreline,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
But there's been discussions about the possibility or looking at that, continuing that sidewalk that runs by shoreline
Yeah,
to go past Sydney's and to follow that curb,
All the way down.
basically would go all the way to the, well, you couldn't get it all the way to the Coast Guard because of the rocks that are in there, but you could follow the beach and the curb
on the east side.
on the east side, yes.
Yeah.
And then, you know, of course, we always have storms that
Right.
push rocks
Cover
off
it.
of
Cover
it.
it up.
So we'd be pushing rocks off of it like we do when we
Constantly.
have to
And
clean
that was
off
brought
the,
up by Tim,
yeah.
who said that lots of rocks come up and over.
Yeah, they do.
Right.
So does, yeah, I mean, every time I drive out there is an issue with, people park their cars and they're walking on,
Broadway.
they're walking on pavement where cars drive.
And it's county road,
Huh?
Broadway's county,
Yeah,
like out front of Sydney's and our Boulder Park on the south side. We
Yep.
found this out a few years back, where the county owns or controls this street Broadway. And so
Yeah, but
if
do
and-
they control it all the way to the Coast Guard
No,
building?
we pick up right at the parking lot.
Okay.
I would note that if we have mixtures of pedestrians and cars in a city-owned parking lot and some pedestrian gets run over by a car, we'll probably be co-defendants in the lawsuit. So that might make some sense when we're doing the master planning for that area to give some thought to that interaction.
And this came up out of a, routes, access, pedestrian safety, bike route, pedestrian discussion broadly. And the question was, is there a plan for that area, that parking lot down to the rocks?
Not currently.
There's not a plan, but there's been talk about it,
Well,
you know.
you were talking about there needing to be a master planning process for that whole area. Is there some body that's going to be created to do that? Will you be doing
I
it?
think it'll be the park board, but I think we gotta prioritize, and as we know, like the rec park master plan needs an update, it needs to include the marina. There's two competing properties right now that need master planning. It's the park, the rec park itself, especially the marina, and then there's the Coast Guard, Artist Point, Boulder Park, however you wanna look at this whole, end of this street. And I don't feel they could be combined, maybe they could, but that's for us to decide, or that would be a good winter project.
My gut says we would be smarter to do Artist Point first because of the potential liability issues.
We don't have control of that property yet, though.
Pardon?
We don't have control of the property yet.
No, but we certainly can forecast the day when we will and having somebody start thinking about it.
Well, then we'd have to engage the county on the sidewalk for sure, because we've tried this before. If there was to be a sidewalk added to like out front of Sydney's and or the South Side Boulder Park, it's a county highway department ask.
Is this something we should talk about again in October after the summer's over?
We can keep talking about it,
Why don't
but
we
maybe
put
the council should bring it up and say, what about sidewalks at Boulder Park? Because it comes up every year.
Well, and
Does.
isn't Safe Routes to School, isn't that already a county-city partnership or
Well,
not?
Let's put the
You got a
subject-
lot of partners there.
Kristen Manson moved into the courthouse. It's Safe Routes to School used to be a state-funded thing, but the person doing it was a hospital email,
Right,
and now it's a
Right.
county email. And the
Okay.
person moved to the courthouse, so it's very much a regional
uh-huh,
thing. This came up out of the observation of just a lot more pedestrians wandering around, and also from our vantage point, watching that trail in front of our house going down to the rec park. That's a lot of business on that this summer. So there's just a lot of traffic on the west side and a lot of traffic going out toward the lake. And then what to do with that downtown and how to route bikes and pedestrians was what we were talking about.
We wouldn't have to completely redo the master plan for the park to address that question, would we?
Well, Harbor Park in the middle is probably fine.
Pardon?
Harbor Park in the middle is probably fine, but the traffic is coming in from the west and then coming from the east and going seaward.
Into the rec park.
Well, and then going out toward Artist Park into that parking area.
Okay, I was misunderstood.
Two flows of people coming from the west along the new trail, which is very, very busy, and then downtown and out under the parking lot. And
Okay.
that's where the crowds seem to be.
David, let's put that issue of pedestrian and bike access in both the rec park and the Artist Point area on the agenda for October. Unless
Well-
we have something we have to do that's a lot bigger deal.
I think this might not need to wait, or it can just go right to council and county and, get that sidewalk idea going. I think it's not in our hands, the sidewalks like leading into that parking lot.
Okay, but we're also talking about going through the parking lot to the Artist Point, aren't we?
Yeah,
And that's our problem. No?
Not yet.
No, it's still Forest Service.
no, the parking lot's city property.
my reason for putting it on the agenda for October, in part, is to keep the discussion going wherever it needs to happen.
Sure. I got you.
And then there's a new path going up the hill by Great Expectations along the Gunflint that'll lead up, I think, all the way to Fifth and Fifth, if I'm not mistaken.
It's gonna go to County 7, I know that.
Yeah, at least, anyway, lots of new,
It's gonna go to County 7, and then there'll be a crosswalk that's already there, and we have
Yeah.
a sidewalk already on the north side of 7
Yeah.
that runs east and west.
yeah,
So it'll tie into that.
yeah.
Are
Yeah.
bikes allowed on sidewalks?
No, this is gonna be a bike path and a sidewalk.
Yeah, so it's a multi-use
It'll
trail.
be a 22-foot path
Oh,
that's going up the entrance of the Gunflint Trail. That's gonna go north, basically to the base of law enforcement
sure, sure.
on the west side of the Gunflint Trail.
I've seen that plan.
Yeah.
So the Bike Men folks were here last year, and we toured the city, and they came up this year, and we toured the city. And part of the issue is signage of the bike trail down and into town safely. So you come up to Broadway, cross in front of Johnson's, and then go out east. And then how to indicate bike path, pedestrian path, where to cross, all that stuff is just our problem for discussion, not your problem. But at some point, the city and the county and DOT and, you know, all the pro-pedestrian people need to have an accommodation on how things should be signed. Because you stand on the corner by Java Moose, and cars in the right turn lane are encouraged to turn right with no slowing or stopping. And pedestrians coming down that city trail toward Java Moose have no stop sign or other indication. So there's free flow of traffic and free flow of pedestrians and bikes, and they cross each other without signage. And that's not good, liability.
Is there a crosswalk there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's no signage there.
Right.
And how to sign that intelligently is what we're kicking around, what best to do.
How about yield to pedestrians?
That would be a nice step, yeah.
It wouldn't
No.
cost a lot.
Yeah, the guy that runs Bike Men, Dorian, was in a right turn lane like that when he was cold cocked and run over and almost killed by a motorist. So they're very sensitive to this free flow of traffic hitting the biker issue. And we have that active. on
Whose
the
job
corner.
is it to put up that sign, to yield to pedestrians?
DOT,
DOT.
it's their right of way.
Do we need to petition them?
Well, they were in on the conference this morning, so that's good.
Okay, well, if you need us to back up your
Yeah.
request, let us know.
The point is how best to do this, then how to do it consistently around town. So it's not offensive and yet useful.
Sounds thoughty. Do we have anything else for new business?
I just want to back up to one point, Bob, on the bike access to the rec park from the bike trail.
Yeah,
Is the thought like a separate trail?
that was,
Or,
that was raised, and I just said there isn't enough room to do anything.
Right,
Like a separate off-road trail besides the sidewalk.
yeah,
When I go to the post office, I go down that sidewalk, through the rec park, check on your office, go through North House,
yeah,
down by Java Moose, across that intersection without looking either way, ignore all the stop signs and go to the post office. And this offended everybody on my bike safety group. But it's what
But
I
it's so
do.
easy.
Yeah.
But it's what I do.
It's worked.
It's
Suicide.
so
Now.
good.
and I do the same, you know, me, I'm on my bike,
And there's no gas involved. I just do it.
yeah, I don't think twice about it either.
But they would like it safer. So they're gonna write some stuff up and send it back.
Yes,
They put
sir.
it on the October agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. One last question. The bike trail now comes off of the trail that was extended from Cut Place Creek, and it goes down the hill, down into the rec park, right?
No, it goes to 8th Avenue and stops. And then it becomes city.
I understand that, but there's a trail down, as I recall, maybe I'm misremembering, there's not one down the hill other than the road into the rec park itself?
Sidewalk and road.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then you're on city bike trail and pedestrian mixed, which is kind of a mess at the moment. And then into town, which is still unsigned. And how to mark the pavement, whether you should put stripes on the pavement whether you should put a bike image, what kind of signage along that would be useful.
I noticed there's new little orange partitions out front of Fisherman's Daughter.
Yeah,
I saw our street department putting those out. They're little temporary bollard type
Yeah.
6 or 3 foot orange.
they don't mark a crosswalk and they don't mark a street.
They cause more congestion.
They just sit, well, I just go around them with my brakes off and told them.
Got
Brakes
Slow.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, oh, yeah, yeah. It's the pedestrians walking 6 wide that are the problem.
Yes,
And then I just go out in the street.
yes.
See, you have common sense.
Better a street than a dog, just no question.
Oh, yeah, those
Oh, yeah.
dogs, unpredictable.
The worst is 2 dogs on 2 leashes on both sides of the trail.
Then you just cross the street.
Happens all the
altogether.
time.
Good
Anyway,
stuff.
it's a pleasant problem to have because the infrastructure is in place, but good signage would be great. And this group will now provide recommendations back to this committee, and then if anything comes to the rec park, it'll come back here.
Sounds good. And it's very seasonal too, you know, by October we'll be
Right.
Yeah.
talking about snowmobiles on the bike trail.
It'll
Yeah.
just be
Yeah.
Bob.
It'll
just
be
be Bob.
Philosophy Month.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, and that's technically bike trail, city bike trail going out of town, but it's also snowmobile trail. And I said, it snows in the winter, leave it alone.
yeah.
The end.
Anything else on that issue? Any other new
No.
business? If not, I will announce the adjournment of the meeting, and the minutes should reflect that we adjourned in time